New at 5, a man connected to 6 bank robberies in the Northwest could be heading to Arizona. A Mesa man jumped into a canal to rescue a dog struggling in the water, and he says he was just doing what first responders encouraged him to do. Well, it might not have happened the way she planned it, but a Valley boxer is one step closer to the goal of competing in the next Olympics. For the second time in just 3 months, the Phoenix area dealt with a huge industrial fire today. Developing now, crews fighting a wildfire in Big Sur, California say it is 20% contained as of tonight, and weather permitting, they hope to have full containment by Friday evening.
Well, we are used to hearing about people putting tracking devices like LoJack on their vehicles, but they're also available for smaller items. And that technology just helped police bust a suspected burglar. Well, the Secret Service has confirmed it is investigating a data security breach at Target, so we know this could be far-reaching. But the company itself isn't talking, and customers are concerned. According to the police report, the former detective met her lover here along Mill Avenue about 5 months ago. She was with 2 other undercover officers taking part in a drug investigation. She eventually compromised. Catherine, it is just a heartbreaking situation. Police say a father killed his 2 young daughters before turning the gun on himself. Around 3 o'clock this afternoon, detectives entered this home after getting a search warrant, and as you can see, they're still hard at work. All right, a lot of us have pots in our yards. If you have pots that have holes like this one that allow for drainage, you are good to go. But if you have any solid pots, you'll want to turn those over so they don't fill up with rainwater and become breeding ground for mosquitoes. Reporting.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Rebecca Thomas. We begin this noon hour with the very latest on a wildfire burning in northeastern Arizona. The San Juan fire has grown to about 2,500 acres. It is burning southeast of the small community of Vernon, which is halfway between Springerville and Show Low. CBS 5's Carla Navarrete has been tracking the San Juan fire all morning. And Carla, what have you learned so far? Katie Baker is keeping an eye on weather conditions in the burn area. And Katie, yesterday I know wind was a concern. How are things looking today? Phoenix police are on the lookout for a gunman who opened fire on 2 people, killing one of them. It happened last night at a park near 106th Avenue and Camelback. Investigators say the 2 victims were playing basketball when a teenager came over and shot them. 22-year-old Dershawn Stard died. His 14-year-old friend was hurt. Police believe this is gang-related. If you have any information, they do want to hear from you. Just 3 months after the new F-35 landed at Luke Air Force Base, the Pentagon has grounded the jet. Luke officials confirmed operations have been suspended until further notice. This comes after a fire broke out on board a jet based in Florida. The pilot wasn't hurt, but Air Force officials say they want to make sure the aircraft is safe before any other F-35s take off. A Mesa man jumped into a canal to rescue a dog struggling in the water, and he says he was just doing what first responders encouraged him to do. Well, the dog freaked out and started biting Timothy Walsh in the face and shoulder. But there are some discrepancies between his story and what first responders are now saying.
Prior to him,
now, Walsh had to have 29 stitches and has bandages all across his face, as you saw. Once the dog was pulled out, it got away. Mesa police say they don't have a policy on rescuing dogs in canals, but Walsh hopes this incident changes that. Smugglers come up with some crazy ways to get drugs into the country. Here's one that didn't work. It's an accordion that Border Patrol officers say had more than 4 pounds of meth inside. An 18-year-old is now in custody for that. Officials say the meth is worth about $13,000. New at 5, the Dallas nurse who is now free of Ebola met with President Obama today. 26-year-old Nina Pham arrived at the White House earlier this afternoon. The meeting, which included a hug, came right after she was released from the hospital. Pham says she's thankful for everyone's support.
As a nurse, I have a special appreciation.
Pham contracted Ebola while treating Thomas Duncan, who traveled to the U.S. from Liberia. He died from the virus earlier this month. And Nina Pham will be on 60 Minutes this weekend, giving her first one-on-one interview to Scott Pelley. You can watch it on Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on CBS 5. New at 5, a man connected to 6 bank robberies in the Northwest could be heading to Arizona. The FBI says it has information that 41-year-old Anthony Martinez Martinez is possibly making his way to our state. They've connected him to 3 robberies in Washington and 3 in Oregon. They believe he might target banks in states between Oregon and Arizona. No court today in the resentencing trial for Jodi Arias. It is expected to resume on Monday. Court was dismissed early yesterday. The judge warned the jurors not to talk about their involvement in the trial. She also asked juror 17 to stay behind, but we still don't know why. If you want to stay on top of the latest developments, we'll be back in the courtroom on Monday. We will be live tweeting at CBS5AZ on Twitter, or head to CBS5AZ.com for updates.
Tragic shooting at a high school just north of Seattle.
Here's what they've released so far. 2 students are dead, 1 a female victim, the other the shooter, identified as freshman Jalen Freiberg. Police say he shot himself. 4 other students were also shot. At last check, 3 of them are in critical condition. Investigators say it happened in the school cafeteria, where at least 30 students saw the suspected gunman as he started firing. Some say there may have been signs of trouble online.
I heard
The FBI is now helping with the investigation. They're trying to trace where the weapon used was purchased. Tonight, a pilot from Tucson is in the hospital after crashing his World War II replica plane east of the valley. It happened in the area of Bixby Road in Globe just before 8 this morning. The pilot is identified as Skip Walker, and he was the only person on board. We're told Walker was on his way to the Copper State Fly-In event in Casa Grande when his Thunder Mustang went down. We don't know what caused the crash, but the FAA and NTSB are looking into it. Walker was taken to a hospital with serious injuries. Only on 5 tonight, CBS 5's Allison Blair spoke to the men who pulled Walker from his plane. She spent all day at the crash site in Globe.
All right, it is the final days of Paul's Big Car Wash up at Desert Ridge Marketplace.
Yes, all week long you have helped pay it forward to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Phoenix.
So let's head right out to Paul right now up there. Congratulations, Paul, on another great year.
Right. Finding a job, it can be tough these days, but one of the best ways is to put yourself out there and make lots of contacts with people in the business. CBS 5's Pat McReynolds explains. And now to a story you saw first on 5. Children are sleeping overnight in the Department of Child Safety office buildings.
Now, this is the first time the department has confirmed it's really happening. CBS 5's Adam Longo is live now, telling it like it is. Adam?
Press release, the Fountain Hills Unified School District says that Sleggers began referring to herself as doctor in recent weeks and months. But a teacher I spoke with tonight says that she was known as Dr. Sleggers as a substitute, even before she was hired as a teacher here a year ago. And we have proof the district had the correct information all along.
Board to accept the resignation of Christy Sleggers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye.
Christy Sleggers resigned from her position as a science teacher at Fountain Hills High School Wednesday night, a job she'd held since 2013. Last week, CBS 5 News confirmed through employment records she did not have a PhD, as reflected on the school's science department webpage. By Monday, the designation was removed and the district placed Sleggers on administrative leave.
She was hired as a BA 60.
So why was she allowed to represent herself as a PhD this entire time?
Right. Again, I can't comment on that.
Superintendent Tom Lawrence says the district began investigating Sleggers' PhD claims in September. But in an email sent on September 29th to a parent who brought the initial complaint, Principal Tom Brennan said they were satisfied with the information Dr. Sleggers provided and the matter was closed. What do you have to say to the students, to the parents?
I got to refer you back to the
deceived?
district office.
Brennan refused to answer questions, but he stood by in April when Sleggers was awarded Teacher of the Month by the Four Peaks Rotary, complete with a banner that read Dr. Sleggers. Why was she representing herself? Why was the school, why was the district allowing her to represent herself as a PhD?
I don't, again, it's the media release, and that's really all I'm allowed to speak to at this point.
That doesn't make any sense. So it's either the district was complicit in this hoax, or you're negligent in not checking her background. Which one is it?
Well, again, it's the media release. You have our statement, and that's all I can say.
Well, that media release does not address the issue. It only states the district was recently made aware of Slegger's false claims. They investigated, and she wasn't able to provide evidence. We'll have much more on our website, cbs5az.com. We went from Tempe to Tonopah with these storm chasers, and believe it or not, we didn't see much rain. And the reason is, in order for photographers to get great pictures, they need to stay ahead of the storms.
This tower that we saw earlier is just shot up. It's pushed into close to 60,000 feet.
Around 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, we met up with storm chasing photographers Brian Snyder and Carrie Hutchings near Tempe Town Lake. As we shot video of a massive storm charging in from the southeast, their cameras also clicked away.
The monsoon's one of those things that you can throw textbooks out the window because it has a mind of its own.
As we prepared to head west just after 5 o'clock, Hutchings predicted the type of storm pictures they'd get as the evening wore on.
Epic, absolutely epic. It's going to be something that we haven't seen in a while.
Sure enough, just after 6 o'clock, we stopped near Indian School and Perryville Roads in Buckeye, just in time to capture a dust storm and what Snyder calls the money shot.
Just seeing a shelf cloud, I mean, it's just... a lot of chasers are envious of us right now.
From there, it was on to Tonopah, where they trained their lenses on captivating clouds and an Arizona sunset only a monsoon storm can deliver.
One of my missions is to show people that there are incredible weather here in Arizona, and you got to see it. You know, you and your photographer got to see it, and that's really cool.
Now, if you would like to see the amazing pictures from these storm chasing photographers, we have linked their websites to ours. Just visit cbs5az.com. Reporting live in Tempe, Rebecca Thomas, CBS 5 News. Jessica Ford says she found black mold in her apartment here at Laguna Village. And what's more, she says management is doing nothing about it.
I woke up in the morning and my ceiling was gaping open.
Jessica Ford says during Monday's storm, water began gushing into her apartment. She immediately called management, which sent over an industrial fan.
They plugged it into this outlet while my wall was still damp.
You can see obvious water damage to her daughter's room, with water pockets bulging from the ceiling. Wednesday, a maintenance crew cut it open. What Ford saw shocked her.
Mold, tons of black mold.
Again, she called management to report the problem and got this response from Laguna Village's corporate office Thursday.
That drywall has a colored backing on the back of it, and that is what the discolored spots are. It's actually not mold, and there's no mold that's been seen.
Not convinced, Ford took a sample and gave it to a friend who is a biology professor. He looked at it under a microscope. The verdict, a black mold known to cause respiratory problems, especially in people who have asthma like her 6-year-old daughter.
I let them know that me and my daughter were feeling sick and that she was saying her lungs were hurting and she was dizzy. Nothing they could do. They wouldn't do anything.
There's a possibility of mold in her apartment, so what's being done to protect her?
He just told me to have you call him. Thank you.
The manager told us to call their attorney, which we did with no response. Meantime, Ford says her ceiling has been patched up without the removal of insulation, treatment of the beams, or testing for mold.
The mold isn't just from Monday, so obviously we've been breathing in the spores now for however, I don't even know how long, but it's terrifying.
Now, Ford and her daughter are now staying with a friend because she is very scared about breathing in that mold. We are also going to be taking some of that sheetrock and have it tested at a local lab. Reporting live in Chandler, Rebecca Thomas, CBS 5 News.